Hello everybody and welcome back. We are continuing our look again, still, at adding and subtracting rational expressions. So let's take a look here at number 7, all right, where we are subtracting, and let's examine our denominators, and very clearly, right, these two denominators are not the same. But let's see here if we can factor this denominator right here. This denominator is a little bit tricky because we have both, two variables in it, so it could be a little bit harder to kind of see here. Our typical rule of just like, the way we normally factor these is kind of breaks down a little bit, but we can still do this. So again, if this thing factors here, we want to first look for a GCF, but there isn't one. So let's see if we can get two binomials that would make that work. So to make that b squared, we know that we'll need a b and a b here. And to make c squared, well, we'll need a c and a c here. But it's a minus 2bc in the center. So then what signs do we need to put in here? Should it be b plus c? Okay, well, let's try b plus c and maybe like b minus c. Okay, let's just try those signs. So if we do that, it'll be b times b, so b squared, right? And then b times minus c, so minus bc. And it'll be c times b, so plus cb, or in other words, plus bc. And then c times c, so minus c squared. Does that work out right? No, the bc's are going to cancel. We'll have a negative c squared where we need a positive c squared. So we don't want it to be negative and positive. Okay, in fact, let's try this. B minus c times b minus c. That would give us b squared, b times b minus c, or b times negative c is minus bc. Negative c times b is minus bc. Negative c times negative c, positive c squared. And aha, there we have the factoring. Okay, so this is equal to b squared over b minus c times b minus c minus b over b minus c. So again, look at your denominators here. What do we need to get a common denominator? We're going to multiply the top and bottom over here by another b minus c. So then now we'll have 2 here and 2 here. So we'll have b minus c times b minus c minus, distribute the b squared minus bc over b minus c times b minus c. Okay, now here's another place where we have to be careful. This subtraction in front of our fraction right here, this subtraction does not go to both the numerator and denominator. It only goes to one. Okay, also when we multiply it through there, it distributes. So this becomes, if you want to think about it this way, we can make it plus, so change it from subtraction to add, and then we'll distribute the minus sign. So we'll get a negative b squared and a plus bc. Okay, which results then in b squared, the b squared and the minus b squared will cancel, leaving us with just a positive bc over b minus c times b minus c. Which furthermore, if you want, so you could stop here, but since we're multiplying the same two things together here, you could just write that as b minus c quantity squared and say that's a final answer too. Okay. All right, let's take a look at 8. So 8, again, we can see don't have common denominators. We're supposed to subtract here. So let's factor here. So this becomes x over x minus 1 times x plus 1. Right, remember that x squared minus 1 is really x squared plus 0x minus 1. So you need two numbers that multiply to negative 1, but add to make 0. That would be the negative 1 and the plus 1 here. Okay, minus, and go ahead and factor that denominator. So 2x over, let's see, we need two numbers that multiply to negative 2, but add to make 1. So what would that be? Go ahead and factor that in your head or on the paper there in front of you. Okay, you should have gotten to be x plus 2 and x minus 1, like that. Now, comparing our two denominators here, you'll see that this denominator is missing an x plus 2. So we will multiply by x plus 2 over x plus 2. Okay? And this denominator, what's it missing? It's missing an x plus 1 that the other one has. So we will multiply, oh boy, this is getting out of control here. Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. So we'll multiply this one by an x plus 1 over an x plus 1. All right, so distribute the x to those two terms here. You'll get x squared plus 2x over x plus 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1 minus, distribute the 2x to the x and the plus 1. So minus 2x squared plus 2x all over x plus 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1. Again, this minus sign, be careful. First, it does not multiply to the numerator and denominator, so don't do both. Okay? But when you do multiply it, it will distribute to both of these terms here. So again, I like to change it to add the opposites. So we'll add and then make these both opposites. And so now this x squared will add with this negative 2x squared to give us a negative x squared. And the 2x and the negative 2x will cancel. And so we're left with negative x squared over x plus 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1. And there's our final answer. Okay, in the next video we will tackle this monstrosity. We'll see you then.